Yeah, a lot of that you were talking about risk and like people assuming that risk is worse than it actually is. A lot of that is from like, your reptilian brain, like your caveman brain. I forgot what book this was in, but like, in prehistoric days, right? Like not prehistoric, but just say when we were early humans, like, 2 out of 3 calamities could mean your death, right? So you could, something would eat you, or you would eat a berry and you would die, or you just fall and you would break your leg and then you would die. And like our brains have not evolved out of that. Right? We're still in that mind frame where when we take risks, we always are like assuming it's going to be super fatal, or assuming like this, hyper negative thing such as death. And I think that's why so many people are afraid of risk and just can't analyze it appropriately, because it's like ingrained in your brain not to take certain risks, because in the worst case you will die.
That's certainly one aspect of things, but I think also another thing when it comes to risk is it comes to classical and cultural conditioning, right? And I think that sometimes we're looking to institutions, or especially educational institutions, in my opinion, sometimes to solve problems that they weren't necessarily meant to solve.
Good point.
So when I'm looking at, well, it's just kind of like sidetracked or whatever the case may be, but I think like someone would take like something like dropping out of college, for example. They would probably just blanket that decision to be something as risky. But the thing is that they won't ask necessarily questions into why or what circumstances led to doing something that may be so as unconventional as dropping out. So, like, for example, when it came to the decision to drop out, for example, at the time I had my mentor. At the time I had I kind of having like a brain far here, but I'll circle back.
Okay, no worries.
Oh yeah, I mean, one thing I would say is perceived risk, and I think just to touch on what you're saying, societal, like from a societal perspective, I feel like what's comfortable allows us to conform, and conformity, I believe, is basically you're the average of those that you're conforming with, right? And have you seen Squid Game actually?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so for those that saw Squid Game, this is more relevant to you, but there's a scene. I'm not spoiling anything. There's a scene where one of the last games they have to, or I think it was the 5th game, where they had to select where they basically have to select a vest with a number on it out of like 12. And initially, everyone decided to select in the middle because they felt more comfortable as a pack. And for those that selected on the ends, obviously you feel a little bit more out of place. So going back to the reptilian brain, we want to feel safe in numbers. And that holds true from a societal perspective. Having a little bit more of a relevant example, when you go to school, you're taught in middle school, high school, leading up to your college career, is you want to go to school, higher education, to be educated, to then get your diploma that will allow you to get a job where you have security to work from your 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are, leading up to your getting a family, and then you could retire in your 60s and enjoy your life at that point in time. And for those that say, you know what, I'm not going to go to college, or I may have gone through college, but I don't want to work for an employer. I want to start my own business, which you're deviating from what you're taught, which again is straying away from conformity and going on the periphery of what most people are doing. And I think that's one of the things that makes it a little bit scary. It's just like naturally we want to feel safe, but a lot of times, what is safe?
There we go.
Yeah. So like, what is safety? You want to jump into piggyback off that?
That was actually kind of exactly what I wanted to speak about, which is the concept of anti-fragility, right? So the thing is that we always have risk, right? But the thing is that risk is replaced in certain areas. So if you look at the steady rising career trajectory that people are coming, it's safe, it's steady. When you have like a COVID event and that drop, you weren't necessarily building those muscles to deal with the level of complexity and the risk and losing your job and all those different types of things, because it's a soft, steady, every single day career. I know one of the things that like Nicholas Nassim Taleb or whatever his name is was kind of talking about was how a taxi cab driver in London, for example, their day-to-day like revenue may be volatile, but their year-over-year stability is actually more stable than most careers. And that's actually something. So we're always like replacing and placing and packaging risk all around. I know, especially when it came to, you know, the decision to leave school and be an entrepreneur, I traded that short-term safety net, as they say, for the longer-term stability of owning assets, owning your own business, learning from the mistakes and losing stuff. So yeah, and another thing as well is that a lot of people, you know, what I kind of really realized is, especially when I had my first breakout in trading, was it's not necessarily that these traders that are getting these exponential outcomes are the you know, these crazy smart guys. It's just more so that they position themselves in activities in which they can see 10x exponential returns. And I think sometimes, you know, we're not positioning ourselves enough in these, and we want that result, but we're not positioning ourselves in a way where we can get those exponential results. And you know, those types of opportunities are a lot more available to people than maybe they may quite frankly understand.
Have you guys ever listened to or read The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale?
No, I'm not.
So that was pretty much, that's basically what it's about. It's about conformity, right? What's the difference between, you know, a bunch of people graduate out of high school, they're all 18. What's the difference between one who's, you know, kind of poor by the time he's 65 or one who's extremely wealthy by the time he's 65? And the number one reason for people not succeeding is conformity. A lot of times they're doing things just because other people are doing it and they're not really thinking about it. And I think a lot of times we all get trapped in that, right? Because I think that's part of human nature. You will survive if you conform and you follow, right? We are in tribes. That's just how we're ingrained. But being able to step back from that and really say, what do I want? What am I doing? Where am I going? I think is probably one of the most important things that anyone could do really at any age.